Good Shabbos to everyone. A good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. This is for the Shabbat of May 2nd, which is the 15th of Iyar. It's also the 30th day of the Omer on Shabbat. This week's parasha is Parashat Emor from Sefer Vayikra, from the book of Leviticus, and it is actually in this week's parasha that we are commanded to count the omer. So on the second day of Pesach, there was a sheaf offering, an offering of the barley harvest in an amount. The omer is a quantity, and they would collect this amount of the barley harvest, and that was part of the offering for Pesach. And then the Torah says, Usfartem lachem mimacharat hashabat miyom aviachem et omer hatnufa sheva shabbatot tmimot tiyena. So from the day that you bring the elevation offering, the barley offering, which is the day after the Shabbat, which our tradition understands to be the day after Pesach, you shall count 7 weeks. They must be complete weeks. Ad mimacharat hashabat hashavi'it tisperu 50 yom v'hikravtem mincha hadasha l'Adonai. You must count until the day after the 7th week, 50 days after the Shabbat, after the 7th week, 50 days, and you shall bring an offering of new grain to Hashem. This is wheat offering. So the barley harvest is first. It's an earlier crop than the wheat, and the wheat comes up 50 days later, and you make another offering of that. Specifically, the offering is 2 loaves of bread. Mimoshvotechem taviu lechem tenufa shtayim shnei esronim solet tiyena chametz te'afena bikurim la'Adonai. You shall bring from your settlements 2 loaves of bread as an elevation offering. Each shall be made of 2/10 of an ephah of choice flour, baked after leavening as first fruits to Hashem. The first 33 days of the Omer are a period of mourning. So certain customs are observed during this time, including not trimming or cutting your hair for those 33 days. For this period of mourning, the reason for the period of mourning is given in the Gemara, in the Talmud, in Yavamot 62b, where it explains that Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of students, in other words, 12,000 chavrutaot, study partners. These were, so a total of 24,000 students, and they all died in one period of time, because they did not treat each other with respect. So the period of time is the period between Pesach and what we call Lag BaOmer. Lag is a number, 33. Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer. So the Gemara has that interesting line that they all died because it says mipnei shelo nahagu kavod ze lazeh, that they didn't give honor to each other. So actually, the Gemara goes on to say that the period of time during which all the students died was from Pesach l'Atzeret, from Pesach into the holiday of Shavuot. However, the period of mourning that we observe is during the first 33 days when it was the worst. So that last line, the part of the reason we mourn during this time is so that we have a heightened sensitivity to, and we are thinking clearly about what it means to not give honor to each other. And particularly it has to do with Torah students of Torah, and the way they honor each other. But it's an important time to learn and think about the respect that we owe each other, and that is important for community cohesion and well-being. So many people comment on this. Many of our sages comment on this idea that they didn't give honor to each other, and they ask, like, what exactly does that mean? What were they doing that wasn't showing honor? So, and asking the question, because it's a practice question, it's like, how do we learn from this? In the Midrash, in Kohelet Rabbah, which is the Midrash on the book of Kohelet, the book of Ecclesiastes, it gives a different wording. So that says that it says that Rabbi Akiva says, Harishonim lo metu ella mipnei shahayta einehem tzara batorah zeh lazeh. So he says, Rabbi Akiva says, my earlier students, all those 24,000 students who died, they only died because their eyes were tzara. Einehem and tzara batorah zeh lazeh. Their eyes were oppressive. They were judgmental. They were jealous. They were envious and so forth of the Torah, of this one's Torah, of that one. So they were. There was a kind of criticism or a harshness about the way other students were presenting or relating their Torah, meaning how they were understanding whatever it is that they were studying. And the Bereshit Rabbah, the Midrash on the book of Bereshit, on book of Genesis, has again a slightly different telling of the story and verbiage about what it was going on between these students, where here Rabbi Akiva says, Harishonim lo metu ella shahayta einehem tzara elu le'elu. That one einehem tzara, their eyes were narrowed, means kind of like a facial expression. They're glaring at each other. They're looking down at each other. They're being suspicious of each other, and so forth. And then he says to his new students, Rabbi Akiva says, Tnu datchem shelo ta'asu k'ma'asehem, amdu mil'u kol Eretz Yisrael Torah. That be conscious of this, that you do not do what they did. And so stand up and fill the whole world, the whole land of Eretz Yisrael with Torah. The Eitz Yosef, who is a commentary on Kohelet Rabbah, looks at that phrase "Shahaita einehem tzara elu le'elu," that their eyes were narrowed against each other. Their eyes had harshness and persecution, even oppression, all connotations of tzara toward each other. And the Eitz Yosef says, Klomar shahayu son'in ze lazeh, that they actually hated each other. V'lo hayu rotzim lehe'anot ze lazeh belimud. And this is beautiful. He says that they didn't want to cause enjoyment or to study, to cause enjoyment to each other in study. And the Yefeh Toar, who is a commentary on the Bereshit Rabbah, looks at this phrase as well, and the one in the Bereshit Rabbah, that their eyes were narrowed, elu ve'elu, these ones and those ones, are all glaring at each other. And he says, similarly, he says, Perush shahayu sonin ze, that they actually hated each other. V'lo hayu rotzim leho'il ze et ze belimud. And it was because they didn't want to help each other. They didn't want to benefit each other in their study of Torah. So we have these descriptions of this situation. By the way, I just wanted to share with you that the Ben Yehoyada, who is a rabbi from Baghdad in the 19th century, he actually says, wait a minute, there's nowhere in the Torah that says that that you should be put to death. The punishment for speaking ill of someone or treating someone with disrespect is death. So why would they be punished? Why would they be punished by God in this way? And he says actually it has to do with the fact that their arguments and the way they were treating each other caused a Chilul Hashem, caused a desecration of God's name, meaning that it concealed God's beneficent presence in the world, because there was this fighting between them and this kind of judgmentalness and this harshness between them. So in the Pirkei Avot this week, it has a very relevant teaching, and it's very much based on last week's parasha, Kedoshim, where the Torah says, Lo tisnat achicha b'levavacha, don't hate your kinsfolk in your heart. Don't do that. Hocheach tochiach et amitecha. Rather, you should absolutely reprove them for behavior you don't think is right. Velotisa alav chet, and don't bear that person's sin on your shoulders. If you see someone doing something wrong, you should bring it to them. However, the art of tochacha, which I've spoken about in the past, the art of this reproof is very much about love and creating a bond and lifting the other person up. And in itself is kind of a limud process. It's a study process that is about causing enjoyment to each other and lifting each other up and creating a deeper bond. Then it says, Lo tikom v'lo titor et b'nei amecha ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Adonai. You should not take vengeance. Don't take vengeance against your people, and you should love the others of your nation, l'reacha, your neighbor. It's translated, although that's not an accurate translation. It means those who are beloved to you, those who are related to you, those people who live in relationship with you. Do not hate them. And then it completes the verse, you shall love l'reacha, you should love l'reacha kamocha, as like yourself, ani Adonai. You should love the other human being as yourself. And so the Pirkei Avot from this week's chapter really says this in a very broad way. It's Ben Azai says, Hu haya omer al tihi vaz lechol adam. Don't be scornful. Don't cheapen someone else's life. Don't despise someone else. Don't despise any other human. Lechol adam. Va'al tihi maflig lechol davar. And don't be divisive over every matter. She'en lecha adam she'en lo sha'av ve'en lecha davar she'en lo makom. For every single person has their hour, and every single thing has its place. So you learn in the same way that we're commanded ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, to love the other, specifically the people with whom you live in very very deliberate and conscious community and a kind of ecosystem of people. Be very careful not to hate those others. Here, the Pirkei Avot is expanding that much further. Don't do it to anybody, even the people that you don't hold in your immediate community of people, your nation, your ethnic identity, etc. So praying that we can all be gentle with each other, and in the process of learning how to do this, in the process of learning how to approach each other when we have issues with each other, learning how to do that in love and in a way that it is connective and restorative and uplifting. It's very hard work, very challenging, so I'm asking for a blessing from Hashem that we are all strengthened in that very beautiful and lifelong and iterative and most valuable work. Shabbat Shalom.